Okay, in today's video, I'm actually going to cover what you actually do if you find or discover somebody that is currently bidding on your company's brand terms, trademarks, trade name, product name, any of that that's proprietary to your company, and somebody is there showing up on Google right under, basically, I shouldn't say not right under, right above the listing that when you type it into Google, for that person to be able to get to your site and go where they're originally meaning to go. There's, what we refer to as scalpers, that Google kind of enables this process to happen, of course, and leaves a salty, a bitter taste, bitter taste in people's mouths that I work hard to build up my brand name. I have people who may have gotten a referral from somebody go to Google to find my site, and then now suddenly they're allowing people to pick off my customers. And that very much is true. They're picking off your customers, but on this video I'm going to talk to you what are your options on how to deal with it so it doesn't affect you nearly as much. And of course, if you're a bit pissed off about the whole situation, this actually should be able to relieve some of that frustration and anger that you may have of somebody showing up there, potentially saying stuff that might not even be true, just to be able to get a customer. As you know, there's a lot of markets out there, actually not all, but people are willing to say anything. Their whole position in their market is, would sell a crap product or service, let's say anything about how that product or service performs, and will cater to the people who are prone to be victims, that want they want what you sell, but they don't want to pay what you have to pay. Of course, they may have would pay what that you charge, but there's somebody out there willing to quote unquote or basically prey on that person, saying that you could get what you offer for less, but really it's not true. And I'm also going to explain how this process that I use to deal with those exact situations that I use, and that how are you going to get around the whole situation for yourself. And so all those are actual very common things. It's somebody. If you have a popular company, you may not have it today, but the more popular you get, the more ticks or blood-sucking insects are going to be coming up on Google trying to steal your customers that you normally would have gotten, quote-unquote, anyway. When under or next to your branded search listings organically. So anyway, I'm going to show you what you could basically do with it. Now on my videos, I normally have a short list of things that I'm going to cover that are going to explain the what is, how-tos, how to avoid the issues, how to deal with it, how much that's going to affect your results, so on and so forth. And this video is no different. So I'll start out my video with number one here. All the problems with competitors bidding on your brand terms. Now there's several different issues with somebody actually showing up in Google above your website being listed organically or in the free section that could do to your business that's going to affect your profitability, your sales, and so on and so forth. First one is the pilfering of customers from, I mentioned as before, your referrals. A lot of times somebody gets a referral, they read about you somewhere, they go Google you, and then now suddenly there's these ads that are between you and the person being able to get to your site, and that and they're going to try to do whatever they can to get that person to go to their site because they sell something similarly to get that customer. And a lot of times that's cheaper to do than to bid for to get somebody who's not going after, if somebody, in other words, is got a referral from somebody, is going to go buy from you, that person has money at that point in time. Obviously, for a lot of branded searches, this is particularly prevalent, of course, and true, I should say, that if you sell that particular customer more than once, because that person wants that loyal customer to come to them. If you only sell one thing to each person one time, it's also true. But where we, I guess, be least true is if like something like a roofing job or a company where a lot of times people are going to be clicking on a brand ad, they're going to be asking about the status, and it's kind of least profitable in that situation. But the more profitable it is, the more potential issues you're going to have here, and the more of a target you're going to be. But if you got customers that are regularly buying from you, and you got somebody who, going back to what I was saying before, that got a referral, getting that customer is more profitable if you know what you're doing, that is, or you're unethical and you write some crap there that isn't true to get that person to go to your site, than somebody who is just going after, like the roofing example, roofing companies near me versus XYZ roofing company that that person now is ready to buy. They're not tire kickers. Or a better example would be like tax service, going after your local competitor and having your ad show up there versus somebody. Tax services, that person may get quotes, but they may not buy from anybody. Whereas if they're going to buy from you, assuming that's a new customer, that you have high prices, that person is willing to pay high prices. It's better to get the customer there. So anyway, I think I set it up there. So the referrals that you normally would have got are not so much of a gimme anymore, because they can get picked off at that point in time when they're actually going to find your site. Because to find your number, what happens, right? Who are you using, John, for your accounting services? I'm using Joe Schmo Accounting. Okay, thanks. They don't ask for their contact information. Then they go to type it in Google to find the phone number, and that person's hoping to pick you off right there. And they can if they know what they're doing. There's other issues with your top level advertising. So branded advertising, so I hear all the time people say to me when I'm helping people manage their ads, oh, I don't want to bid on my brand terms. Those people are going to buy from me anyway. Well, okay, yeah, a lot of times you are true. But if you're investing $2, $5, $10 a click to get somebody who's in market for what you do and sell to come to your site, that person, the more expensive the product or service is, the more this happens, that person's not going to normally make the plunge right away. So they bookmark your site, or they just say, okay, I want to buy from them. They don't bookmark your site. Later on, they're going to type in your brand name or what they think is your brand name in order to, when they finally get paid, they got a K from their wife, whatever it is, to go ahead and buy. And now you have to have that person make it all the way through to make that $10 click that you paid for to get that person to your site in the first site pay off for you. So you can't, in other words, it'll be a leaky funnel. You got a funnel to funnel people in, and if the bottom's got too many holes in it, it's not going to work. So you got to have that bottom of the funnel solid. And so if people are picking people off there, then of course you can there's a whole lot that could get you new business that won't work at all, potentially millions of dollars a year in sales that you could get from advertising your business on other searches that will just not work if this bottom of the funnel isn't there, and you did all the hard work, in other words, to get that customer educated and all of that, and know that they want to buy, and then suddenly now they buy from somebody else because they distracted them at the last minute. So you absolutely need to be able to use these strategies to seal up and patch up any of the holes that are there to make your ads work a lot of the times. And that's why you run branded ads. The other reason why you use branded ads, which is the thing I'm going to get into next, is people get confused. So what will happen a lot of times is, okay, going back to my previous example, you advertise for drones. They're looking to buy a drone. You advertise under drones for sale. Somebody gets to your site. It's an expensive product, so they're not going to decide right away. Anything over like $100 it costs, a lot of times there'll be a delay between the time that they get to your site from a search like that and they actually buy. 50% or more, a lot of people don't want to recognize this, which also makes tracking a little bit difficult in terms of seeing overall value of what those ads do deliver. Because people come back later, type in a branded search, and then it just looks like a branded search made the sale. But really, it wasn't going to ever be there unless you initially got that person to your site 2 weeks ago and you ran that other advertising. So, but if you had, Jiffy drones, that person, and you spell it like Jify, that person might spell it Jiffy in their mind when 2 weeks later they go back to actually buy, they're ready to purchase at that point in time. You don't run branded ads, that your ad may not rank first for the misspelling. Then guess what? That person who's smart, that does run branded ads, does run ads on your brand names, will show up first there. And they're way, way more likely to get that person to go to their site at that point in time instead of finish what they were initially going there to do. So the biggest reason why you use branded ads, by the way, is to get all the misspellings, because people a lot of times won't remember. Even if what you think is easy to remember, they won't remember it, and you got to show up for all the misspellings, and you have to show up first every time to get the new advertising that you use to draw people in to work. So they won't know how to spell it. They can't remember exactly how to find your company, so they'll search for different things. And that ad there that's meant to poach that your gimme customer that was just going to finish the purchase with you ends up going with them. So they could get the people that are normally going to go to you from offline to online, maybe through a referral like I mentioned to you before, but also people that are at the bottom of the funnel and, they basically couldn't find, it wasn't easy for them to remember exactly what to search for, and then they get picked off that way. So that's the reason why you want to run these brand ads, to compensate for your free listing, not in having some, your free listing there, and then if you don't have a brand ad there, then there's something there that promises that person something that they could have got that they may not be able to get with you. Now that person was going to buy from you, but they start, now they're diverted someplace else, and then, guess what? They never end up finishing what they were going to do. Just because they said they were going to buy from you today and they have the money doesn't mean they won't buy from somebody else. And the more more chance that they have to get diverted at the last second, the less sales overall you're going to make, basically. So you have to run brand ads to take care of somebody running ads for your branded terms. And how this affects you is, and this is what really pisses people off, it wouldn't be so bad if somebody just advertised on your branded terms and that's it, in that space, to try to get that so that that you're there. By the way, just if you're selling drones and somebody is above you and has what I call a competitor ad show up directly above your branded organic listing, it just says, we offer drones as well. That's not an effective ad because there's not enough people who care about you. But what they'll do a lot of times, what pisses people off immensely, is they'll say, our drone has double the flight time, even though it's not true, until they get the product to test it out. And then that person who's normally going to buy, now they have a really good reason to click on that person's ad. And so you definitely have to do something with that there as well. This actually affects you, if it's happened to you, you're saying, nodding your head right now saying, yes, that's what's happening to me. This affects you way more than you think. Why do I know? Because I do ads like that. I don't do the false claims part, but it affects you more than you think, because I'll have an ad, I'll do it intelligently in a way that benefits the market for the client, and we'll say, we'll look at the drone, the competitor's drone, and then we know what points our product has that the other one doesn't have. So when they search for the competitor's product, doing a branded search there, our ad shows up the same way, so that even though you may think showing up on someone else's brand search is sleazy, for me, it's business. You explain that ad space is there, they could do it to you, you could do it to them, as long as you're not misrepresenting anything. If your drone actually is 20% cheaper than the comparable drones in the market, and to that drone that they were searching for, you say that, you try to divert as many people away from that person's last minute gonna go purchase from that person's site as you can to your site, again, because it's a lot of times it's a majority of the time cheaper to get that customer from there than it is to have somebody just looking for drones for sale, because they may or may not buy, they may or may not go with you even if they get to your site, so on and so forth. So anyway, with all that said, now you know if you didn't already know, all this other stuff. What happens to you if you don't run a branded ad, or just in general, when somebody has an ad that shows up above your organic listing for your brand names, that could basically filter off upwards of 50% of all your people that were normally going to buy from you and had to make a last minute brand search by not having a brand ad. That's actually a realistic kind of number, between the misspellings and the misrepresentation that diverts people away, and then they now lose their attention. With the low cost of the brand ad, a lot of times it only costs 10, 20 cents to run an ad for your branded searches. Would be especially why you would want to do it for sure then, but sometimes it's like $2-3 on your branded search. But I can tell you, even if that's the case, and to get a new customer in is $2 to $3, you still want to do ads for your branded searches, because again, you need that in order to make the top, this advertising that you do to get people initially interested in your product to work. That works as a package. The branded ads do the bottom job of help convert that customer, and the top ads get the awareness in. So now that you know you need to use brand ads and how much this could affect your company, literally lose half the potential of all the advertising and referrals that you get in, depending on how many ads, 3-4 ads show up above your organic listing, and how much those ads tap into things that will emotionally get that user to react and go to their site, with upwards of being totally false or misleading things. You run the brand ads. This is what you're going to do to protect yourself, and to actually, if they are pilfering off half your sales of the advertising that you use to get people into your site the first time, you do these things, you're going to cut out most of the effect of all that I just mentioned. Yes, it's going to take some paying attention to detail here, but this is going to take care of almost all the problem for you. So you're basically going to just assess what you need to do here, and then you're going to go out and do it. You have a branded search shows up, so somebody's got an ad that says you can get it here for cheaper, whether or not it's true, it is cheaper, but they took the cost of how to make it cheaper and they buried it somewhere else. The first thing you're going to do, so there's 2 things you're going to do in your branded ad that you're going to also have show up for your branded searches, so that you're up there even above the guys trying to pick off your customers on your branded searches right now. First thing you're going to do with that ad, as far as objectives go, to be able to mitigate all this, what these people can do to you, announce you're at the right place first of all. So if I'm going to buy the product, I don't want to have to think. I want to be able to find what I'm trying to find as quickly as possible. You announce, if you sell Jiffy brand drones, Jiffy brand drones, official site. I use that on more than half of the occasions, official site, to make people know there's people trying to fool the user, essentially, to get them to go to their drone sites. That's how you'll be able to stand out, so it's crystal clear that this is the site to click on, and so that you also don't get people accidentally clicking on something else. Now, okay, now what's this? And then, which is part of where you lose upwards of half your sales from the top end, top of the funnel advertising that draws people in. And then you got to put the value proposition. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in your own brand name, and you're going to look at the ads. I'm sure you've probably done this already. And so you're going to see what's there as a whole, and you're going to come up with something that's better than them, essentially. If what they have is fake, so you can't actually beat the offer itself, you're going to do something like, our product is verified through the government or through ICCC or whatever standard or body or authority out there as being the most powerful unit in this space. Our competition does not go through such rigorous verification and testing. Would be one way to say, if somebody was saying that their unit is twice as powerful for the same price, or goes twice as long for the same price. Our unit is the longest flying product in this space for the price, and it's verified through our central governing body or authority, and our competition, where they claim to fly the longest, don't have that review. So what you're basically saying there is, if they say they fly longer, they're lying. So okay, I see that. Now I see somebody say that there's flights longer for the same price. Now, it's not guaranteed that they don't believe it, but way less apt to do it. So you're basically, you take whatever they have, and then you're making an ad to counter it with that other ad that you have there for your branded search. So you're neutralizing the competition. So you say, Jeffrey Jones official site, and then on your second headline, that's where you put the guaranteed to have longest flight time in this space, as verified by Central Authority. Competition cannot hold a flame to our flight time. Or you could also just give you some ideas here. Trying to think of the best way to put this. Don't go with the imitators who aren't making the correct claims. I try to think of a better way to say that for that particular example that I gave you, but make it clear that other people are basically scammed. So you can't call out anybody that it's a scam, and you have to say why it's a scam and how they can easily, for them, not being a non-expert, verify what you're saying that the other competition are a scam, why they're a scam. So that's what you do, essentially. Now, with that said, a lot of times, I mentioned at the start of the video that this could work for branded searches, trademarks, trade names, product names, all that stuff. What you're going to have to do is, for the product level or service level branded searches, you have to make a search for your product names, and if you have a unique trade name for the services you offer, you have to make those searches. And if you see that there's branded other competitions, competitor ads showing up on your product name searches, you're going to have to do the same thing there as well, essentially. I found, kind of as just a general rule of thumb, if you have more than $500K a year in sales, plus you create your own product / service, and that you give them your own names, then you're going to have to do this. This being making an ad for every single product name that you have, so that you, not only in case they misspell the product name when they want to go to order it, they can find it, but you'll have to make the search. And if somebody's trying to rip off your customers and they're saying specific things that are incorrect or that will pull people away from your closing that customer down, that you have to then come up with like I gave you here with the drone example, of a specific reason why what they're saying is not correct or shouldn't pay attention to it, and do it on a product by product basis. So, in other words, you have two levels. You have the company level stuff where you have your company trade names and maybe your legal names. You have all of that stuff. You want keywords and ads for your branded campaign. And then you have the product level stuff or service level stuff where you have an ad for every product or every service with its own unique name. Even if there's no competition, like I said there, that you do that anyway, because you're going to make quite a bit more money having branded ads versus non-branded ads. And I've got a video on branded ads that goes over this a little bit in detail more. Why? Again, mainly because of the misspellings, and like I said here, if they can't find what you sell right away, they're going to get it's too much of a risk for them to get distracted and end up someplace else. And so you could do things like, here's what you were looking for, official site, and then you have a more efficient funnel at the end of the day. But you'll have to do this for each product. And to wrap all this up, essentially, if you got somebody that's lying their butt off right now to try to get people to go to their site and because it's cheaper to get customers that way than to do what you did initially to get where people are looking for your product for sale or service for sale and getting them that way, then you have to counter what they're doing by what you say in the ad and do it on a product by product basis so that you're relevant to that user, or service by service basis, or overall. And if you go to my campaign about competitor ads, I do the same thing. So on top of that, the same concept, kind of in a reverse, works for getting customers from your competition, which those customers will be cheaper than marketing again for most markets, like probably 80+% of markets, for the person going after the competitor than to go after somebody who's non-specific as to who they're looking for, but they're in market for that particular product or service that you have for sale, and getting that person to go to your site based upon something you're telling them specifically why you're better. Twice the machine for half the price. We're cheaper than everybody, and we guarantee it through price matching. Or this service is, the person who runs this company is mirrored in a scandal. You don't want to work with them. We are the most upstanding company in this space. Go with us. So you get the general idea here, and essentially that's what you want to do. If you do that, and you can have upwards of 4 ads, 3 if you don't count your own ad and you're going to run branded ads, that can show up above your organic search result, that you can lose a whole ton of customers if you don't go and look at what's going on. And I encourage you, every 90 days to 180 days, probably 90 days if you can do it, run all these same vanity searches again and see what's showing up there. Because people, a lot of times, if you go to do what I just told you here, they'll change their strategy. You'll have to change your. So it's like whack-a-mole almost. But it's, for the most part, you have to have like I said, you have to have the bottom of your funnel efficient to make the top of the funnel advertising generally work. You got to be able to make sure they can find it, even if they don't know the exact spelling, and you got to be able to make sure whatever's there above your organic listing, that isn't going to make them think, maybe I should go over here. Got to eliminate all the distractions, and when you've done that, that's when you have a good hope to make advertising that's already expensive, or you're again paying $2, $5, $10, $20 per click actually work and make sense for your company, versus throwing half of it away or around there by not having branded searches and potentially having 4 people advertise above your brand search, and a whole ton of the time, especially when they're when potentially as well they're saying something to lie to give them their edge of what they absolutely know, then that person will have to click on their ad to see why they can't save half of the price of what they're paying you to get that 50% of sales you're losing out of the equation, so that the advertising is going to work. And for the most part, advertising on Google to get a new prospect who is not searching for you already is so expensive in most markets that you have to be able to have that bottom of the funnel efficient nowadays, or your funnel overall is just not going to work. So anyway, hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you like this video, I have a lot of other videos on this channel that go over different PPC strategies, money-making PPC strategies. I also have step-by-step instructions on how to build money-making PPC campaigns the way that I do it to guarantee results for our client on our site at guaranteeppc.com/blog. If you have any questions about, you have competition running ads on your branded terms right now, and you're trying to think of perhaps even a sly way to say whatever they're saying to get the user to click on their ad to mitigate that effect, so it's basically completely neutralized, can't think of a better way to do it, leave me a comment down below, or any other question you have about this, and I'll get back to you. I always get back to everybody who leaves me a comment on this channel and potentially give you some advice there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully it inspired you to start running brand ads, even if you don't think you would have got the customer anyway. Doing that, and then also protect yourself from people trying to pick off your customers or clients at the last minute when they're going to buy, by saying some bull crap, or legitimately trying to do it, and having no defense up, have it be effective for them to be able to, it's just low-hanging fruit for them to take your customers away from you that they normally would now have the money and are ready to buy from them instead. So anyway, hope you enjoyed.